Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. So CinemaCon is currently going on right now, and Sony had their panel a couple of days ago, and they actually showed a trailer for Kraven the Hunter starring Aaron Taylor Johnson. Now this is a movie that I would say wasn't really necessary and nobody was really asking for it, but I do think it has potential, especially after hearing what was seen in that trailer footage. There's some really exciting stuff in this trailer, and there's some information that definitely gives me hope for this movie. So it says here, Sony revealed the first ever footage for Kraven the Hunter starring Aaron Taylor Johnson in the form of a trailer. Things kick off with Kraven stopping a group of poachers in the wild who are trying to escape with their bounties of wild animal carcasses. So that's something we did hear before, that he was almost going to be like an animal activist. He is not going to be hunting animals all the time, which I think is a bit of a mistake because his name is literally Kraven the Hunter, and his whole thing is he wants to hunt down these animals and creatures that make it a challenge for him, and that's why he goes after Spider-Man. But anyways, let's continue here. So it says Kraven the Hunter is confirmed to be Sony's first ever rated R Marvel film, and that is super exciting. I think that is something that's really going to help out the Sony spin-off Spider-Man movies. Now obviously I don't think just making everything rated R is going to solve all of their problems and make their movies good, but it is going to make them a little bit more entertaining. Like, can you guys imagine Morbius rated R? That would have been so much more entertaining. Him just slicing people up and biting people and all of that, which we didn't get, unfortunately. A rated R Morbius movie would have been awesome, and Venom rated R, that would have been amazing, or at least a lot better than the version of Venom that we've got so far. Venom is known for chewing people, eating their brains and everything, and it just makes sense to make it rated R, especially Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage. Like, you know, Carnage is literally one of the most violent Marvel characters of all time, and the fact that that movie wasn't rated R kinda sucked, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I would have loved to see Carnage just rip people apart and just go on a killing spree, really, but we didn't get that because they kept the movie PG-13. And since all of these Sony movies are basically centering around villains, I think it would be cool to make those movies a little bit more edgy, and it looks like they are going in that direction. Now it says here that the trailer really shows the violent tone of the movie due to that rated R rating. It says in the trailer, Kraven is killing everyone quite literally like an animal. Now that sounds pretty cool. It says Aaron Taylor Johnson's Kraven the Hunter uses weapons, his hands, and even his own teeth as he bites a piece of a poacher's face off and spits out the blood. Now that is very edgy, and I think it works for a Kraven the Hunter movie. Like, this is a hunter character. He's typically a villain. It makes sense for this movie to be rated R, and I think it's really going to help it out. It continues to say he also jumps off walls and pounces on foes like an animal. The main conflict of the film is between his father, played by Russell Crowe, who was the one who actually raised him in the extreme ways of Hunter vs. Prey. The action is filled with over-the-top gore, as comical as the Deadpool films, as we see Kraven use everything from huge spears to fully sized bear traps to decapitate and chop up goons to pieces. This just sounds like a wild movie, no pun intended, compared to the other Sony movies. Like, they were all pretty tamed, I would say, in the violence department, but this movie just sounds like it's gonna be just off the walls crazy rated R. Let's continue here. So a mysterious new character played by Ariana DeBose is briefly teased as well. Now I don't know who that is, but after doing a quick Google search, it looks like she might be playing Calypso, who is the love interest for Kraven. So I guess we'll see how that whole romance side of Kraven works, but let's continue on with what was shown in that trailer. So it says, for those curious, the comic accurate Kraven vest with the recognizable fur around the shoulders was briefly seen as Aaron Taylor Johnson pulls it out of an old chest. So what I'm guessing is Russell Crowe being Kraven's father, when he was teaching him how to be like really violent and a true hunter, he was wearing that vest that we know and love, and then maybe he tries to change his ways and basically just puts it in a chest and forgets about it and tries to start a new chapter in his life, but then he has to become the hunter again and then puts on the vest, something like that. It says, but for the most part, Kraven is not wearing the comic accurate costume in the trailer. Surprisingly, he does meet up with another famous Spider-Man villain, the Rhino. This is where things get real crazy in the trailer. It says a huge fight between the two begins as the latter injects himself with a serum that actually mutates him into a huge rhino beast, as opposed to it being a mech suit like we saw in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and we will not talk about again because that thing was horrendous. The footage only saw his arm morphing into a big gray rhino-like fist that did look pretty comic accurate. Rhino says to Kraven, "You want to see why they call me the Rhino?" And then he transforms into this giant hulking beast. Now this is super interesting because putting Rhino in a Kraven movie does make sense, but at the same time, knowing Sony, I don't really have a lot of faith in this project. Like, yes, it's rated R, and I think it works for a Kraven movie, but based off of their track record with all of these spin-off Spider-Man movies, I am pretty worried, especially when I read this article and it said that Rhino popped up in the trailer. It looks like they're going the complete opposite direction that they did in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, because in that movie he had the mech suit, and in this movie it sounds like they're going the more comic book accurate route and making him like this big hulking monster, but instead of a Rhino suit they're going the whole mutation route, which I think is pretty interesting too. At first I was like, oh my god, Sony is going to butcher this, he's gonna look so dumb, he's literally just gonna look like a giant rhino. But then I realized like Sony actually nails character designs. Like that is the best thing that they do in their spin-off movies. If you look at Morbius, that is pretty much perfect character design, and then if you look at Venom, that is absolute perfection. So I do have faith that Sony can make these designs look good in live action, and I really hope Rhino ends up looking something like this image here that I found online. This basically looks like someone that injected themselves with some kind of like Rhino super soldier serum or something, and basically turns into almost like the Abomination, but a Rhino version of that, if you get what I'm saying. And I think if Rhino looks anything like this, it would actually be pretty cool, and it would make for some pretty interesting fight scenes between Kraven and Rhino too, because if Rhino does look like this and he's basically the Hulk, it's gonna be pretty difficult for Kraven to take him down. So yeah guys, it looks like this trailer wasn't really that long, but it does give us a lot of information about this Kraven the Hunter movie. It's going to be R-rated, Rhino's gonna be in it, poachers are gonna be in it. It looks like Kraven is trying to turn like a new chapter in his life or something. His dad tried to make him into a killing machine, and it sounds like his comic book accurate vest kind of symbolizes that period of time in his life, and he's put it away in a chest, so it seems like he's trying to maybe live a normal life, but then he gets roped back into the whole hunter life, and that's when he meets Calypso and has to fight Rhino. And I don't really know what to make out for this movie. Like, it could be good, it could be the typical Sony bad, I don't really know. Like, I think making this movie rated R is definitely going to help. By no means does that just mean the movie is automatically going to be good or anything, but it is going to be a bonus, and I think that Sony should make their spin-off movies rated R, just to make it a little bit different, you know, compared to the MCU and the DCU and everything. Like, make your villain movies rated R, and make sure your villains are actually villains. I hate this whole anti-hero route that they're going, because then when they eventually make a Sinister Six with all of these villains, you're like, oh, but they're really not that bad when they fight Spider-Man, so you're like, what's the point of making this whole cinematic universe if you're gonna make your villains anti-heroes? Like, where are the actual villains? But anyways, we'll talk about more news as it unfolds for the Kraven the Hunter movie and the Spider-Man movies and everything, but leave your comments down below of what you guys think about the Kraven the Hunter trailer. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you think Sony pivoting and going the rated R route is good? Personally, I think it's a great idea, and I really hope that Venom 3 is rated R, because that is definitely going to help out a character like Venom. Overall, reading this trailer description, I am intrigued. I really hope they nail the character design for Rhino though. That is something that I'm really worried about. But like I said, if it looks anything like this image and he's basically this big like Hulk type monster, it could be good. I'm excited to see Kraven just rip people apart in a rated R comic book film. But yeah guys, that's my thoughts on this whole thing. Thank you for watching this video. Make sure you guys subscribe for more news and reviews. Other than that, I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video.